Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Sunday, April the 2nd, Ian Cameron flying solo today on the show, ready to break down the Sunday card. We have a very, very exciting Sunday card and a big one, which I love to see, especially with this this is the second to last Sunday of the regular season. So it's great to see a big card. We got games all afternoon, many games tonight, tons of teams playing with playoff implications at stake in action today. So it's a great card. Let's, instead of doing the recap yesterday, I really don't want to recap yesterday. It wasn't a great day for me. The good news is that overall it wasn't a great day, the best day anyway, betting-wise. I think I was guilty of a few too many plays. I mean, I'm a high-volume guy, but it felt like that yesterday. But the good news is the best bet won on the show as the LA Kings defeated the Seattle Kraken last night. But disappointing that Ottawa didn't play better against Toronto, because I kind of thought they were live. Very disappointing the Islanders weren't better than they were against Tampa Bay, but to give Tampa Bay all the credit for it. Anaheim was stupid for me to even trust them a bit, even with Jack Campbell and net, trusting them to score. They get blanked by Jack Campbell, which tells you the plight of the Anaheim Ducks right now and where they're at. Arizona didn't even show up. That was a horrible game from them against San Jose. So yeah, some disappointing results yesterday, but the best bet won. So I'm happy about that, at least. And the Kings got the job done. Hey, it's late season. I mean, it's going to be tough sledding at this time of year when you're betting NHL hockey. Really, when you're betting any sport late in the season, you got to be careful. You're going to have some ups. You're going to have some downs. Hopefully more ups than downs today. We don't have the graphics, unfortunately, working today. StreamYard, there's something going on here. I've tried to click the graphics to bring up the display on the screen of what game we're talking about, but they're not working today. I click it, nothing happens. So unfortunately, we don't have the graphics today. So hopefully they're fixed by tomorrow, and whatever issue StreamYard has with that gets rectified by tomorrow. But unfortunately, we'll have to do without the on-screen graphics game by game today. But we'll start with the New York Rangers and the Washington Capitals. We've got the Rangers minus 130 to minus 140 road favorites. 6 the total in this game. It's a really bit of a conundrum game because, the New York Rangers, we saw them obviously lose in overtime to the Buffalo Sabres. I don't think they played that bad. A tough spot after losing to New Jersey the night before on the front end of the back-to-back. And now they play the Washington Capitals. I don't want Washington. That much I know. I'm just trying to decide if I want to back the Rangers in this spot. And they're laying a, minus 130 to minus 140 price. And I still have the visions in my head of when, the Rangers were, laying this kind of price against Washington earlier this season. It was an afternoon game on the weekend in February, and Washington ended up beating them 6-3, and they didn't play well. That was right around before I think the Patrick Kane trade happened, and I kind of felt they were, maybe a little bit off their game with the news that Patrick Kane was coming, and maybe they weren't exactly focused on the task at hand on the ice. But yeah, I don't want Washington. It's a question of, do I back the Rangers? That's what I'm trying to figure out here before this game. But, you look at this Rangers team, the thing that does concern me here is, they don't really have a whole lot, at stake here in these remaining games of the regular season. It's not like they can catch, anybody. They know they're probably playing New Jersey in the first round. So, motivation's not exactly a great, thing at the moment for the Rangers. They're 5 back of New Jersey. They're not catching them with only 6 games left. And they're 6 back of Carolina in the division. Washington, to me, they're out. I mean, they're 8 points back. They're not making the playoffs. And they're kind of playing like a team that's kind of realizing that, hey, we're not going anywhere. These last 3 efforts have been, the Pittsburgh game I don't think they really recovered from the Pittsburgh loss last Saturday. I think that's the game that ended their playoff hopes. They lose to the Islanders in a shootout. They lose to Tampa Bay as well. So I like, I lean Rangers. I don't know if I'm going to bet it. It's to me, this feels like a game. You know what? Stay away from it. It's the first game of the day. It could go either. Same with the total. It could go either way. The last 2 meetings have gone over. between these two teams, but the Capitals suddenly aren't scoring. They've only scored 2 goals in the last 2 games combined. Meanwhile, the Rangers offense says there's 3 goals in the last 2 games combined. So they've been quiet offensively. I'd lean over at 6 because we've seen the last 2 meetings this year between the two teams go up and over the total, but nothing strong for me. Nothing strong for me, side or total in this game. All right, let's move on to the second game of the TNT doubleheader. That's TNT, by the way, that Rangers-Capitals game. And this is the second game of the doubleheader. Boston and St. Louis. We've got the Bruins here, minus 215, road favorites, 6.5, the total in this game. This is one where actually I contemplated the draw, just slightly contemplated it. Just because, Boston, a big win against Pittsburgh yesterday, 4-3. I want to see what the lineup is, though, for the Bruins. This is definitely a team you want to check the lineup before each and every game moving forward, because I'm sure you're going to see a rotation of rested players the rest of the regular season for this Bruins team. Linus Ullmark is confirmed in net for the Bruins. Of course, Patrice Bergeron, smart move, not playing him yesterday. He's been banged up a little bit. They targeted him against the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was the victim of a headshot in that game. There's no reason for him to play necessarily, but get the afternoon off to rest. And Pavel Zacha, by the way, who I've been singing the praises of from a player props perspective all season, he centered the top line yesterday, a 3-point performance for Pavel Zacha. So you'd better believe the Pavel Zacha props here are definitely worth a look in this game, because he's been very good all year, but now he's getting that opportunity on the top line for the Bruins. I think definitely any looks towards Zacha are good for this game. His point prop is only minus 120. I think that's an excellent bet here in this game. It's also been a great bet lately. David Pastrnak over shots on goal. It's now 8 straight games he's gone over 4.5 shots on goal, and it's only minus 120 at DraftKings for over 4.5 shots. Well, you know what to do. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He just keeps on shooting the puck a lot, and shooting the puck a lot resulted in a hat trick for Pastrnak yesterday in the victory against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So this is going to be more of a prop game. I mean, I might gravitate a little bit toward the draw. It's the ultimate flat spot for Boston. Clinched the President's Trophy 2 nights ago. That did look like a Boston team that wanted to prove a point against a potential first-round opponent in Pittsburgh. But now is the game where you really think, what's Boston? Do they really need to, bring it again here? But here's the thing, and they mentioned this on the broadcast. They've written about it locally. The Bruins players and Jim Montgomery, the head coach, have talked about it. They are within striking distance of the all-time record in points for a regular season, for a single season in the NHL. And to me, maybe that matters so much to this team that they just keep the pedal to the metal. Because let's be honest, a 70% Bruins performance tonight beats St. Louis and maybe beats them handily this afternoon. That's how good Boston is, and that's how much better they are right now than in the Blues in particular. And we have heard hints from the many players on this team and Montgomery that is of interest to them, to be that team to make history, to be that team that has the all-time record of most points in a single regular season. So I don't think you can lose sight of that, in terms of they're striving for it. Will they get it? We don't know. They're running out of games, but if they keep winning, they've got a real chance to get it. So yeah, that's what's ultimately going to keep me off, any interest in the draw. Boston could come in here and roll. Like I said, Boston at 50, Boston at 60, 70% here of their A game, and it's still probably going to beat this St. Louis team at the moment. And Ullmark and net, we know how good he's been. So it's probably going to be a game where I just land on those couple props that I mentioned. Zacha to get a point, Pastrnak over shots on goal. I think if you're going to look at anyone on St. Louis, it's probably Jacob Vrana for them, but definitely, I've had my fill going against Boston this year, especially a couple times lately. Not going to do it today. All right, next up, we've got Ottawa and Columbus. Ottawa minus 180 road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. Look, the Columbus Blue Jackets were sorry performance last night for them against the Florida Panthers. Just terrible. They were. And credit to Florida. Florida finally looks like a team that means business. It took them a while. to finally not have these games where they, play down to their competition. But, that was a great win for the Florida Panthers. It was a pathetic performance by Columbus, don't get me wrong, but we do have to give Florida some credit for how well they played last night. They scored the touchdown and the extra point against the Jackets, and thankfully they got to 7 goals because that's what cashed the over for me last night in that game. Michael Hutchinson, obviously a tough night, but, it wasn't all his fault. I mean, definitely he had a lot of problems in front of him. Carter Verhaeghe got a hat trick for Florida in that game. So it was just a dreadful performance from the Jackets. That's now 4 straight losses. They did give a pretty good effort against Boston, but, aside from that, I mean, they get blown out by the Rangers, blown out by the Canadiens, blown out by the Panthers. Take away the Boston game where they lost 2-1 in overtime, and the Columbus Blue Jackets have been outscored 21-4 in the last 3 games, 21-4. So that's not very good. I don't want any part of Columbus. But here's the problem with Ottawa in this game. Ottawa suffered, I think, the last blow to whatever playoff hopes they had last night against Toronto. Okay, that was a loss that I think if you're dealing in reality and you're an Ottawa Senators player, you're probably at the point where you're saying, you know what, we're 6 points out. We've only got 6 games left. It really is tough now for us to make it. So I worry about the psyche. I worry about this blue line. Okay, I really worry about this blue line for the Ottawa Senators. It is depleted. They don't have enough bodies, enough quality to replace what's missing right now on the back end. When you're talking about Travis Hamonic, Thomas Chabot, Jacob Chikrin, who they got at the trade deadline, I mean, they just don't have the bodies of quality to make depth-wise. They don't have the quality depth to make up for it. They don't. If Jacob Bernard Docker was this great defenseman, and that's all I heard when he got drafted was how great he was going to be, cornerstone, why the fuck has he been toiling in the American Hockey League for 3 years? Why? My point is proven. Quality depth, JBD has not been, his development has not been as quickly, has not happened to the extent the franchise thought it would. So you've got Jake Sanderson, Artem Zub, Eric Brandstrom, Jacob Bernard Docker, Tyler Clevin, and Nick Holden is not a suitable NHL pairing right now on the blue line. I mean, they're guys that are not ready. Guys that have to play obviously significant minutes now because of the injuries that they're dealing with at the moment on the blue line. And as a result, Ottawa's going to have issues, I think, keeping the puck out of their own net moving forward. And we've seen evidence of that from Ottawa. The 5 goals allowed to New Jersey, 4 allowed to Philadelphia, and they only gave up 11 shots in that game. 3-0 last night to the Leafs. So there's issues on the blue line. There's guys that aren't used to playing this many minutes. Can Columbus do something offensively? Because let's be honest, for Columbus, their offense has dried up during this 4-game losing streak. They've scored just 4 goals in the last 4 games combined. Even against teams like Montreal, who aren't exactly shutting teams down, they only scored 2. I mean, can Columbus get on the scoreboard? They should against this Ottawa blue line right now on a back-to-back. They should be able to find some offense here in this game. But, we haven't seen it from them consistently. I know Ottawa can score and probably will score against the Jackets tonight. It looks like for the Jackets now, they have all kinds of issues with their goaltending, as we know. It's Daniil Tarasov isn't even an option right now for them. Merzlikins is still day-to-day. Hutchinson played last night. There's no way he's going to play on a back-to-back. So they could be turning to another AHL call-up, John Gillies, potentially, as their starting goaltender. He was recalled last weekend, so we'll see how he fares here. But his overall numbers in the National Hockey League, his last season in the NHL was with St. Louis and New Jersey before this year. 3.71 goals against, .887 save percentage for John Gillies. Not exactly numbers that will impress you. So, I think in this game it's over the total for me. And if it loses, so be it. But especially with this total now falling to 6.5, -125, there should be no excuse for Columbus not to find the back of the net here tonight against this depleted Ottawa blue line. And Ottawa should score a bunch themselves. Everybody's scoring in bunches against Columbus right now at the moment. So that's the way I'm going. Just the total over 6.5 here with the Sens and the Blue Jackets. All right, Islanders and Hurricanes. We've got Carolina -170, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Islanders, very, very disappointing game last night from them against Tampa Bay. The Islanders need to, bounce back and play good today. Even on a back-to-back won't be easy, obviously. The Islanders on the back-to-back this year are 8-6. They actually have a good record on a back-to-back this season, the New York Islanders. But, yeah, not a very good performance last night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And he ended up getting pulled last night, Sorokin, with 8:15 left in the second period after he gave up the first 4 goals to the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. And Lane Lambert decided, let's give him some rest. Sorokin against Carolina 3 times. He hasn't played great against Carolina, Sorokin. It's worth noting. 3.05 goals against, .899 save percentage. It's probably going to be Freddie Anderson in net for Carolina because we saw Antti Raanta. Credit to Antti Raanta with the shutout, by the way, last night against Montreal, but they did not give up much of anything to the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal didn't even crack 20 shots on goal in that game. So Anderson in net, I think the Islanders are honestly live in this game. They've got to, bounce back here. I'm going to do an Islanders draw split. It's the same bet I had yesterday against Tampa Bay, which obviously crashed and burned, but I don't mind coming back to the well with that here in this game on the back. The back-to-back record is a winning record for the Islanders this year. We'll see who's going to be in net because with Sorokin pulled, I think it was initially maybe going to be Varlamov tonight, but with Sorokin pulled, they might throw him back in there, give him a chance to bounce back. He still has had a very good season overall in goal for the Islanders. And I don't like what I'm seeing out of Freddie Anderson. I have no issues going against the Islanders at this price with Anderson in net. Anderson has not been at his best lately for the Hurricanes. So I don't mind the look here for the Islanders against the Hurricanes. And it is worth noting the Islanders beat Carolina in this building the last time they were here in October. They were plus 165, plus 170 underdogs. They won 6-2 here in Carolina. So I think after the feeble, porous effort last night by that Islanders team, they could be live tonight. So I'm going to go with the Islanders draw split. And it is worth noting 2 of the last 5 games for the Islanders have gone beyond regulation. So that's what I expect here. I expect a little bit of a tight 1-goal competitive game. Islanders with the chance to sneak it out. And like I say, good chance maybe we see this game go beyond 60 minutes as well. All right, next up on the slate here, we've got the Philadelphia Flyers and Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh up to minus 250 now as home favorites in this game. The total 6.5 across the board in this one. Pittsburgh, wow, tough loss. Tough loss yesterday against Boston. I think Boston deserved a win. They had the better of the play for most of that game. It's worth noting. And when you look at the Penguins yesterday, even with Boston, dictating the play for much of the game, they battled back. They hung in. Tristan Jarry, I thought, played pretty solid yesterday. He kept that game within arm's reach for the Penguins throughout. But you just can't have that turnover the way the Penguins had it late in the game. David Pastrnak pounces on it. It was his hat-trick goal to give the Bruins the 4-3 lead. Late in the third period, you've got to manage the puck at that time of the game, especially when points are valuable. Your season is on the line, and you just can't make those kind of haphazard mistakes with puck management, not when the points are this crucial. And unfortunately, they turned it over to the wrong guy, and David Pastrnak, a one-time blast beating Tristan Jarry. And to not get a point out of that game stings for the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially on a night where they watched the Florida Panthers destroy the Columbus Blue Jackets to surpass them in the standings for that second and final wild card spot. Florida's now 1 point up on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's on the outside looking in. Pittsburgh enters this game tonight not in the playoffs, so a must to get 2 points here against the Philadelphia Flyers. It's an absolute must for this Penguins team to get the 2 points here in this game against this Flyers team. Philadelphia had been playing pretty feisty, pretty competitive, but not one of their better games last night. They fall 6-3 to the Buffalo Sabres in that one. Not a great night in net for Sandstrom either, the goaltender for the Flyers, who again was playing because of the fact that Carter Hart was not available. And I don't believe Carter Hart's ready to come back tonight either. They've still got him listed as a day-to-day for the Flyers. He wasn't even available to back up Felix Sandstrom yesterday. And with this being a back-to-back here in Pittsburgh, I don't necessarily expect Carter Hart to be available for this game either. So, and I don't think we'll see Sandstrom again. So I think it's Samuel Ersson, who's been called back up from the AHL for the Philadelphia Flyers. If you remember earlier this season, Samuel Ersson actually had some pretty good games at times. Now, he also had some rough ones, but there's been some games where he's been, strong for the Flyers. And if you look at his overall record with Philadelphia this season, it's actually 6-1-1, 6-2, with only one regulation loss and one shootout loss as a starting goaltender this year for the Philadelphia Flyers. 3.06 goals against, .898 save percentage with the Flyers this year. You'll see how he fares here. He did play on Friday night in the AHL, and his team got the win 4-2 in that game. So I think it probably will be Ersson in net here. So scary proposition considering what the Flyers' record has been this year with Samuel Ersson in net. So dangerous game because this is still a rivalry. There's still two teams and two franchises that don't like each other. Philadelphia, you look at them too. Maybe part of the reason why they were so lethargic last night is just that game didn't interest them. Buffalo. This one might. So if you're Pittsburgh, you better be ready to play your best hockey. You better just not, roll out onto the ice here today or tonight at PPG Arena here and say, you know what, we're going to win this game. You're going to have to work for it. And that's the one thing about Philadelphia. They don't always play well, but they always play hard for the most part. So very interesting to see how this goes. Like I'm off this game because, if Pittsburgh plays their best, they'll still win this game and maybe win it comfortably. But there's that little thought in my mind that especially with Ersson and net, with the historical rivalry that we've got between these two in-state teams, two in-state rivals, the Keystone State rivalry, as we like to say, Philadelphia may be up for this one and more than interested in playing spoiler for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So not a game I'm going to get involved with other than looking at props. It would be probably Farabee for Philadelphia. I'm always interested, like I say, with the props involving him lately. He has been one of the catalysts for the Philadelphia Flyers. Morgan Frost has kind of stepped up lately. Noah Cates, there's all kinds of guys that are starting to really pick up a little bit. Noah Cates for the Flyers, he has points in 6 of the last 7 games for the Flyers. So any point prop for Noah Cates, makes a lot of sense for me going into this game on the Philly side. Morgan Frost with 4 goals in the last 3 games and 5 points in the last 3 games for Philadelphia. He's all of a sudden starting to pick up as of late. On the Pittsburgh side, you know who it's going to be. It's always, we're always interested in Jason Zucker for the Penguins. Chris Letang over shots on goal as well makes some sense. Sidney Crosby did not, have his best game yesterday. He sometimes torches, not sometimes. He's had a very good track record of torching the Philadelphia Flyers. So any Crosby props potentially today. This is just a team that he's done very well against. So don't be surprised if he maybe makes an impact here tonight against the Flyers as well. All right, that's the first half of this Sunday NHL card. We've got 4 games left to break down. Shout out to everyone in the chat on YouTube watching the show. Hit the like button as well. Shout out to our podcast listeners. We'll be back in a few moments with the rest of the card right after we hear from GramCo.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by GramCo. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, court, or the ice, GramCo is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, GramCo provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 THC products ready for any occasion. GramCo currently offers numerous Delta 8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. GramCo offers an enjoyable, legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. GramCo is also available at many American retailers as well. You can get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from GramCo. And if you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code IceGuys, you will get 20% off of every order, and any order that's on the site over $50 will be shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with GramCo and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, and make sure that you sign up for the playoff box giveaway presented by GramCo. We're going to announce the winners next Saturday, April the 8th. Make sure you get in on that contest. You fill out the form. And again, it's right there in the YouTube video description. make sure that you get the sign up for that and get involved with the GramCo playoff box giveaway if you haven't done so already. All right, let's move along here on this Sunday card. Next up, we've got the New Jersey Devils and the Winnipeg Jets, just a cataclysmically important game for the Winnipeg Jets. -1, they're all important now for Winnipeg as they try to hang on to that second wild card spot in the Western Conference. Jets slight home favorites. -115 is what we're looking at with the Jets here as home favorites in this game. And the total right now sitting currently at around, it looks like 6.5 in this one. Actually, DraftKings has 6, but there are mostly 6.5s here when it comes to the total in this game. The Devils on a back-to-back, of course. They played in Chicago last night, and they get the 6-3 victory over the Chicago Blackhawks. Even though Chicago, we thought, would play with some jam last night with the return of Jonathan Taves for the first time in quite a while. But at the end of the night, New Jersey was the better team. They were just too good, and they deserved a win. They outshot the Blackhawks 40-17. So the situational element did not work out for the Chicago Blackhawks last night. I really think this is a Winnipeg spot. I'm going to bet Winnipeg small here, but just small. I know this team, what they can do, that sometimes they pull you back in with a dominant win like they had against Detroit, and then they rip your heart out the next game. And they could very easily lose this game because I still think New Jersey's the better team, but there's no doubt this is a tough spot for the Devils. Played the Rangers on Thursday. They played the Blackhawks last night, a third game in 4 nights for them. They didn't get into Winnipeg until very late last night. The Jets are rested. And look, the Jets, and give Rick Bowness credit for some constructive coaching because that's probably what this was. But, he totally shook up the lines going into that Detroit game. Totally new line combinations. Weren't sure how it was going to work out. I'm sure even there was a part of him that didn't even think he was sure how they were going to unfold and work out in that game for the Jets. But the line combinations worked, and I'm sure he's going to stick with them here today. He put Connor, Dubois, and Scheifele together on the top line, kind of loading up the top line and trying to get 3 guys that have been struggling mightily going in that game. And sure enough, Dubois was better, and Scheifele and Connor both get on the score sheet and score goals for the Jets in that win against Detroit. So the shakeup worked. Ehlers, Nemesnikov, and Wheeler on the second line, Niederreiter, Lowry, and Appleton. The third line with Barron, Stenlund, and Kuhlman on the fourth line. So, it worked. It gave them the spark they needed. So we'll have to see if the Jets can sustain that, maintain that here going into this game against the Devils. I just think the spot's just too much in the favor of the Jets, not especially with them now only -110. They're pretty much even money, just slightly more than that at home in a favorable spot. I'll take them. I'll take Winnipeg here, -110, -115. Not with the utmost confidence, but I will back Winnipeg here in this game with the short price here at home. It looks like as far as the goaltending matchup is concerned in this game, we've got the, let me just see here. Hellebuck, obviously, as you would expect for Winnipeg. But we saw Mackenzie Blackwood last night in goal for the Devils. So probably back to Vitek Vanacek, you would assume, tonight here for the New Jersey Devils in this game. Yeah, it was Blackwood last night for the Devils against Chicago. Someone was asking in the chat. It was Blackwood last night for them. So obviously, I think for the Devils, it's going to end up being Vanacek here back in goal tonight for this game. As far as props go, not a prop game I'm going to do a ton with as far as the player prop market is concerned. Just a couple that I would want to mention here in this game. Josh Morrissey over shots. I think definitely you got to look at that here. Morrissey, especially at home, he has shot the puck more, a lot more. And so Josh Morrissey to go over his shots on goal prop is probably worth a look. And hey, if you buy in that Detroit game was the tonic to wake up the top players, do you go back to the well with some of them here, Scheifele and Kyle Connor going into this one? So maybe because again, these are players that are pretty talented, but they had been ice cold offensively for the longest time. Was that win against the Detroit Red Wings what they needed here to get going again? So like I say, the schedule in the Jets' favor. They're rested team at home, no travel, waiting for the Devils, who got in late from Chicago last night. So perfect opportunity for the Jet. Like this would be a tough game, and and it might still be, but the Jets couldn't have asked for a better situation to fall into their lap. They're rested, and here's New Jersey coming into Winnipeg late from Chicago last night. So perfect opportunity for the Jets. We'll see if they can take advantage of this situation. All right, a huge 2 points on the line for them. And speaking of Winnipeg, we'll get to Calgary. They're in action later tonight as well. But first, we get to Detroit, Toronto. Toronto minus 250, minus 260. Home favorites here, 6.5 being the total in this game. The Red Wings, of course, had been playing pretty well in a couple of games this week, notching a couple of big victories against Pittsburgh and Carolina at home. They had the back-to-back after the Carolina home win in Winnipeg, a desperate Winnipeg team, and the Jets were ready for it. Jets won 6-2. Detroit looking to bounce back from that here tonight against Toronto. Toronto, 3-0 shutout last night against Ottawa, so Detroit has the rest advantage here, playing Friday night and now today, whereas Toronto back-to-back for them after being in Ottawa last night. Detroit won the most recent meeting in between these two teams, 4-1 earlier this season. Back in January is the last time they played. Detroit ended up winning that game. It is worth noting there's still a bunch of question marks as far as goaltending right now for Detroit with Ville Husso out. They've been alternating back and forth of late between Alex Nedeljkovic and Magnus Hellberg. So probably Nedeljkovic tonight. It's Matt Murray in goal for the Leafs in this game. We'll see how he fares, but this is an important start for Matt Murray. Matt Murray's not going to be the playoff goaltender. It's not an important start from that standpoint because the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to go with Ilya Samsonov in the playoffs. There's no doubt. There's absolutely zero doubt right now. And if there was any doubt whatsoever, you saw what he did last night against an Ottawa team that's playing for their playoff lives, backs against the wall. Ilya Samsonov with a 30-save shutout last night against the Ottawa Senators. He's going to be the guy in the playoffs. But if you're Matt Murray, you've got to still play well down the stretch and prove to this team and to your head coach that I can be counted upon. I can be relied on, in terms of, being a guy that you can win with, if Samsonov gets injured or Samsonov falters for whatever reason in the playoffs. So you still got to bring it here down the stretch the rest of the regular season. I really don't have a strong feel for the total in this game because I kind of feels like I want to bet over, but 4 straight unders between the Red Wings and the Leafs coming into this game. I still think the over's in play. I really do. Toronto's gone under in 3 straight. It's been over-under alternations for the Detroit Red Wings in their most recent games, but I do lean over the total in this one. I do think we might see some goals. I could see some sloppy play potentially from both sides in this game. And keep in mind, too, on the Toronto side, there's some resting going on here tonight in this game, and it's their prerogative to do that, knowing that, it's set in stone. They're going to be second in the Atlantic. They're going to host Tampa Bay and have home ice advantage in the first round. They've already announced that for this game tonight, Mitch Marner's out, Jake McCabe's out, Mark Giordano is out. So all 3 of those guys not playing. Of course, Noel Acciari's been out for a while due to injury. Ryan O'Reilly's closing in on coming back, but not going to be returning here for this game tonight. So, it will be a little bit of a makeshift lineup here tonight for the Leafs. Now, the good news for the Leafs is you see McCabe and Giordano and multiple defensemen out, but we know this team's got incredible depth on the blue line right now. And if you actually look at the alignment here for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, they're going to have Riley, Brody, Timmins, Hall, Liljegren, and Schenn. That's still, with McCabe and Giordano and Gustafsson out, and they've still got like a very solid, sturdy 6 defensemen in the lineup tonight. So you have to be careful when you see that, they got multiple defensemen out. Well, this team now has just exceptional depth. I think they went overboard in terms of how many defensemen they brought in. They got too many defensemen right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they're still icing a quality 6 on the blue line tonight. Riley, Brody, Timmins, Hall, Liljegren, and Schenn going to be on their blue line here tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm off this game entirely. I really am. I mean, I could see Toronto winning. I could see Detroit maybe in a spot where Toronto, after the big win last night, and Matt Murray in net, as we know, a little bit shakier in net as an option compared to Ilya Samsonov. So, I could see it. You know what I might actually look toward maybe tonight is the Red Wing team total. That to me is the best way to approach it. Then I don't have to worry about what Toronto does or does not do offensively against presumably Nedeljkovic in net, who we know can be good and he can be not so good. That's been his season in a nutshell. But I do think there's a chance the Red Wings can strike for 3 goals here. That's all we're asking for. That team total on the Detroit Red Wings is over 2.5 at even money, minus 102 at Pinnacle. So I like that. That will be a bet for me. That will be a bet for me. Detroit Red Wings over 2.5, their team total here in this game. Because, I think they can get to that mark here against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They certainly did that in the last time these teams played. 4-1 win for the Detroit Red Wings back on January 12th. So that's a good way to approach it if you don't really have that firm belief they're going to win the game, but you do think they can score 3, which is kind of where I'm at here with the Red Wings in this matchup tonight against Toronto. All right, next up, we've got the Los Angeles Kings, Vancouver Canucks. We've got LA minus 115, minus 120, road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Kings with a big win last night against the Seattle Kraken, back-to-back for them now, going to Vancouver. So a little bit of a tricky spot here for them, back-to-back now, playing less than 24 hours later. And all they need is 1 point. All they need is 1 point to clinch a playoff spot tonight, the LA Kings. They don't have to win this game. All they need is 1 point. And actually, they can also clinch a playoff spot if the Jets lose to the Devils in any fashion. So if the Jets lose in regulation or overtime or a shootout, the Kings would also clinch a playoff berth regardless of what they do tonight. But in this game in particular, the Kings only need 1 point against the Vancouver Canucks to clinch a playoff spot. And basically, the chat's onto it. I think the chat kind of knows where I'm going here. Yeah, the draw. This is actually my favorite draw of the entire card here tonight is this one, Kings and Canucks, the draw in this game. Vancouver continues to be ultra competitive. Very, very impressed with the work ethic. Calgary was playing for everything the other night. And yeah, they got badly outshot, but Thatcher Demko was good. And to be honest with you, I thought a lot of the shots on goal for Calgary weren't the highest of quality. Shocker from the Calgary Sternums. Where have we seen that before? But they got the win, Calgary, in the end, and Vancouver was very competitive. And that's what the Vancouver Canucks have been. That's the best one-word adjective to describe them since Rick Tocchet took over, and especially over the last couple of weeks, competitive. That's what they've been. They've been a tough out. They've been obviously very good as far as the win-loss record, which stands at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 4 in their last 11 games. And the losses were a 1-goal defeat to Arizona, a 1-goal defeat to Vegas, a 1-goal defeat in overtime to St. Louis, and, of course, the 1-goal loss to the Calgary Flames the other night in overtime. 2 straight games have gone beyond regulation as well for the Vancouver Canucks. So it's a great draw bet, no question. I like this draw. There's other games I think could go to overtime today, but there's not a game I feel stronger about draw-wise today on the Sunday slate than this one. I think this is a really good draw bet, got a really good shot to get to beyond regulation, especially when you factor in that all the Kings need for playoff clinching is to get this game into overtime. So if this game's tied in the latter stages of the third period, I don't expect the LA Kings to be overly aggressive and trying to take too many chances. Just secure the point, secure the playoff spot, and get into the playoffs. And you do that certainly with the draw here. So Kings Canucks draw plus 360 at FanDuel. Very good price there on the draw. That's the way we're going to go in this matchup between the Kings and the Canucks. As far as the goaltending matchup tonight in this game, I would expect Demko once again for the Canucks. Now it was Phoenix Copley who started last night against Seattle, and that was a great game from him. That was one of his better games in a while. He had been kind of teetering lately, Copley, but that was one of his better games in a while. He was very good last night against Seattle. Seattle didn't play that bad, but they ran into Phoenix Copley, who played well. And just when it looked like Jonas Korpisalo had the driver's seat, the edge to being the playoff goaltender for the LA Kings, that was a big statement performance from Copley last night, saying, hey, I'm not dead in this race yet. As far as being the playoff goalie. So it'll probably be back to Korpisalo in net tonight for the Kings on the back-to-back. But, definitely looking towards the draw here in this one at plus 360. That's a good point by Steve in our chat here. Yeah, there's going to be the NHL debut for the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, Casper the Friendly Ghost. Exactly. That's what I had already circled it that I was going to end up calling him that. So yeah, that's not a bad prop to sprinkle on a guy that's fired up. He's going to make his NHL debut. He's only 18 years old, this kid. And they're going to throw him on the second line and center that second line with Andrew Kopp and Lucas Raymond. 8th overall pick in last year's draft, 2022 draft. 8 goals, 23 points in 52 games played this season with Rogla over in Europe. So an opportunity here for Marco Casper here to get his NHL career going. Again, only 18 years old. There's always that question, is an 18-year-old kid, especially at the center ice position where there's so much responsibility that goes with it. You've got to be defensively responsible. You've got to be a two-way player. You've got to win key faceoffs. You got to do so many things as a center in the league. Are you ready to handle it at 18 years old in the NHL? But certainly a kid that's got a ton of upside, a high level of IQ. They say there's a lot of elements to Bergeron in his game, so it'll be interesting to see how he fares here in his debut tonight for the Red Wings. All right, final game, Anaheim-Calgary. Calgary minus 600, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Yeah, what you do is you just bet over saves for whoever's in net for Anaheim. I mean, look at last night. I mean, they got peppered. And actually, what's funny is I believe the John Gibson, if you bet it, the John Gibson over saves prop lost because he got pulled, which is a terrible, terrible way to lose that bet. Terrible way to lose that bet if you had it. But he got pulled later in that game against Edmonton last night. Lucas Dostal ended up finishing the game for the Anaheim Ducks. And that's a tough one if you were on the saves prop there for Gibson in that game. You deserved a better fate. But whoever's in net, it was probably going to be Dostal tonight all along. So does the fact that Gibson got pulled last night deviate the plans? I don't think so. I think they'll probably rest Gibson tonight and Lucas Dostal is projected in net for the Ducks, 4 and 9, 3.8 goals against, 901 save percentage here for the Dostal going into this game against the Calgary Flames. Calgary, by the way, they've won 5 of the last 6 meetings against Anaheim, including a 5-1 victory in Anaheim last month in March. But I do want to point out earlier in the month of March here at the Saddle Dome, it was Anaheim beating Calgary 3-1. So they did get a win here earlier this last month, I should say, against the Calgary Flames here at the Saddle Dome. But I don't know if that's going to happen because Calgary might finally, I'm so trepidatious right now in saying this, but maybe Calgary's got one blazing hot streak in them to end the season. They have won 3 in a row. That Vancouver victory finally gets them to 3 straight wins for the first time since early December, and only the 3rd time all season that the Calgary Flames have put together a winning streak of at least 3 games. So maybe that's a sign here for the Calgary Flames. They're ready to get going. I don't necessarily want to take much of anything, though, here with Calgary. I mean, the team total, they have scored 5 goals against the last 2, non-playoff teams that they've played. So we do have to, actually the last 3, if you factor in the most recent meeting against Anaheim on March 21st. So against teams that are out of the playoffs, they scored 5 against Anaheim. They scored 5 against San Jose, and they scored 5 against Vancouver in the overtime win the other night. So could they get, you want to take over 4.5 here. You really do on the team total here for Calgary. But, they've scored 5 against Anaheim already, San Jose, Vancouver. They should score 5 tonight. They really should. Anaheim's atrocious. They're an absolute train wreck defensively. Dostal in net doesn't have great numbers, and a lot of it's because of the defense in front of them. They should score 5, but we know Calgary has these nights sometimes where it's 45 shots and 1 goal, 45 shots and 2 goals. And there's always that possibility that lingers in the back of your mind. But so I don't know. That would be the way I'd play it, though, is Flames team total over 4.5. If anything, I don't want the Anaheim anymore. I don't trust them to keep it close enough to like the draw in this game. I'd lean Calgary team total, but the bet that I like the most, if Dostal is confirmed in net, you bet that fucking thing over saves. That's what you do. That's what you do here in this game. You bet the over saves on whoever's for Dostal. Presumably he's going to be the guy, but whoever's in net for Anaheim, if it's Gibson tonight, you bet over saves. And if it's Dostal, you bet over saves. Whoever's in net for Anaheim, I think that's the best way to play it. Go over the save prop because I think Calgary will rack up the shots like they've done. I mean, against Vancouver, 41 shots. Against Vegas, 44 shots. The last time they played Anaheim, they had 43 shots in that 5-1 win. And I should point out, too, in the 3-1 loss to Anaheim at the Saddle Dome on March the 10th, 37 shots for the Calgary Flames, even though they lost 3-1. So they peppered Anaheim with shots in that game. So, like I say, a lot of it's minus 600 favorite. You're not going to find any value to back Calgary. You got to be, creative here. I think maybe you look Flames team total over, but you definitely look at that saves prop for whoever's in net for Anaheim tonight, but we think it'll be Lucas Dostal. All right, great stuff. That's the card for this Sunday. Appreciate it. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube. Hit the like button. And our podcast listeners, we thank you for tuning into the Ice Guys show as well. A reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys. Check it out, just $10 a month. Goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, the daily Ice Guys show betting card, and tons more bonus content on the way as we approach the playoffs as well. So make sure you check it out. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. And also the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Make sure you get yourself some quality Ice Guys merch there. All right, great stuff. We'll wrap up the show with a Sunday best bet coming right up right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS. That's promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, it's about 14 million balls that you can preserve. The Performance Package 4.0 is the complete accessory package to take care of everything that is required. You've got, of course, the Lawnmower 4.0. Takes care of your facial hair and among other things. You've got, of course, the Weed Whacker. I'm approaching 40. Nose hair has become a major issue. It pisses the hell out of me. I need to take care of that shit, and the Weed Whacker can help you do that. Both of these products, waterproof and a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave. And you'll also be able to take care of those delicate areas with the ball toner, with the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good, looking good, and feeling good down in the nether regions. This complete Performance Package 4.0 will take care of everything for you, for all you guys out there, and it's courtesy of our good friends at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use promo code ICEGUYS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, it is time for Best Bets to wrap it up for this Sunday edition of the Ice Guys. We cashed a ticket with the best bet yesterday, LA Kings against the Seattle Kraken. Let's see if we can deliver another best bet winner here for this Sunday NHL card. And tough sledding today. It's a card that nothing really jumped out to me on the whole for this game, or for this card on this Sunday. I was considering that. I really like that Kings Canucks draw, but I'm not going to go with that for a best bet. But it's definitely my favorite draw bet of the card, no doubt. But at the end of the day, we ended up settling with that Senators Blue Jackets over. Yeah, that's what we're going to go with. Ottawa Columbus over 6.5 minus 125. I think that's the way to go. I think Ottawa scores in bunches here, regardless of who's in net for Columbus. John Gillies probably is the goalie today. It's an awful blue line, awful defensive team right now. But Ottawa's depleted on the back end. There's no Chikrin. There's no Shabbat. Those are two huge holes to fill. Columbus hasn't been scoring lately. That's the concern here about betting this over. But if there's ever a day the Jackets are going to show up offensively, it's tonight against a shorthanded blue line, and especially off getting their ass handed to them 7-0 by Florida at home. They're at home again today. Do you really want to get embarrassed again on your home ice? I got to believe here that the Jackets show you a little something, some pushback at least. And I think it'll come on the offensive end of the ice for them here tonight. So let's go with that. Ottawa, Columbus, over 6.5, minus 125 for my best bet here for this Sunday card. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy this fun Sunday of NHL action. Great to have a big Sunday NHL card like this. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.